Hi everyone! We added a recent feature to the Tidewave toolbar that allows you to visualize the changes that are happening to a page. And in this video, I want to show you how you can use it to improve the performance of your Phoenix LiveView applications. So what I have here in front of me, it's the Tidewave application itself, and you can see the toolbar here in the bottom left. And this is the settings page of the Tidewave application. And you can see that we have a toggle button here, right? And when we toggle it, you can share more information with Tidewave for us to improve the product. And the feature that we added is that you can visualize whenever something happens to the page, you can visualize what is happening. So I start with the first mode, which is the DOM updates mode. And when you click it, you can see that, well, basically what changes is the toggle, right? So we click it, it changes, and then you can see we briefly flash like what are the attributes that are changing, which component this comes from. So all looks good, right? But the issue with this mode, the limitation with this first mode, is that it only shows the changes to the DOM. So the server could be sending more data than actually it's being shown here, but because the data that the server is sending on every update is the same, we don't get to see it on the page. And that's where the second mode helps a lot, because what I can do here is that I can click here, and you can see that now there are more things flashing. And each of those things flashing is telling us that, look, the server has actually rendered those things, sent to the client, and it just happens it's the same data. So the server is sending the same data over and over again. And you can see that we can flash how much data is being sent. So it's not a lot, like 5 bytes in here, 5 bytes in here. But what is really interesting is that we have like this frame, right, which is like purely static, this frame. And it is still flashing. Every time we click it, it flashes. So what is happening here? So at this moment, something that you could do is that you could use the inspector and, tell your agent like, hey, when I click this thing, right, like a bunch of the page is refreshing, and the agent is going to explain it to you why it happens and fixes it. But since I'm here, I want to show exactly what is happening on this case, why clicking here is refreshing even this static component, because I think it's going to be a good example for us to understand why it happens, and it's likely that this is happening in your web application as well. Alright, so here I have the source code for this page, and we can see that we have step 1, step 2, and step 3. And what we know is that on step 3, when we click that toggle, what we are doing is that we are updating the current scope to say, hey, like the user has changed their sharing preferences. All right. So because the current scope change, the step 3 is going to re-render because it receives the current scope. The step 2 is going to re-render because it receives the current scope. And step 1 is going to re-render because it receives the current scope as well. But if we look at the step implementation, you can see here that it receives their current scope only to receive the subscribed attribute, right? So instead, what we want to do here is like we're passing too much information, and that component needs only part of that information. So what we can do is that we can just say, look, I want to receive subscribed as a boolean, and now we can change all the colors here, current scope, and current scope to receive subscribed. And now if those changes, if we go back to our web app, right, and we click the toggle, we can see that the first one that is static is no longer re-rendering, because as we saw, we stopped passing like this bulk of information, right? And we are passing only what the component needs. So what was happening before is that we were passing a lot of information, and then the component was like, oh, I'm receiving this data changed, and then the component would calculate the new version of the data, which was the same as the one before. That's why it re-rendered, but it did not really cause any changes to the page. And that's how you can use the Tidewave toolbar to improve the performance of your web apps. And the performance tracker is completely free. You can install it right now, update your LiveView, and start enjoying it. See you next time.